And I've heard some things that were people was like, hey, listen, this is gimmicky and what it's not. It's an incredible, incredible playoff system that rewards the best drivers in our sport.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I know. Another video where someone's complaining about the playoffs in NASCAR. I bet there's some people that ran across this video and rolled their eyes and probably already gave the video a dislike because they're tired of hearing about it. I only got one thing to say to those people.
Fuck you.
Excuse me from wanting to see the actual best driver be crowned champion at year's end. Add me to the long list of people that have complained about the playoffs. It's almost like it's a problem. It's almost like it failed to accomplish what it was set out to do. So let me go ahead and explain why the NASCAR playoffs has failed, and while I'm at it, I'll be ripping the NASCAR playoffs into shreds because fuck the playoffs. So let's get it. It seems so unreal that the playoffs has been around for just about 20 years in NASCAR. It was implemented way back in the year 2004, and to this day, it's a really controversial topic. The playoffs in NASCAR has never been fully accepted by the fan base. I've never seen a sport where the championship format was questioned by not just the fan base, but also the competitors to this extent. Even before the playoffs was officially implemented, it was actually being considered as far back to the year 2000, but NASCAR didn't pull the trigger. But late in the 2003 season, NASCAR was really serious about making the playoffs a reality. And this got so much pushback from the drivers and the fans just by looking at online polls and driver quotes from that time period. Even after Brian France told Jeff Gordon about the idea, and Gordon laughing right in front of him because he thought Brian France was joking, it was still implemented. Officially announced on January 21st, 2004, the playoffs was born, and it's been a frustrating 20 years with it. There's been many iterations of the playoffs, and honestly with each change they kept making it worse and worse, and it just made people debate about it even more as they continued to make changes with it. Funny enough, they haven't messed with the format in almost 10 years, but they decided to stop messing with it when it's currently at its worst. When the playoffs first came about, at least it was a good balance of legitimacy and entertainment. But with each change they kept skewing it towards entertainment. NASCAR is at the point where they don't care about legitimacy, and it's gotten to the point to where you can't even take the championship seriously because of how the format is set up. With it being skewed towards entertainment, you will assume that ratings are increasing, right? Let me start off by saying that NASCAR was in the middle of its boom period when the playoffs was implemented. Looking at the ratings during the last 3 years before the playoffs was added and then 3 years into the playoff era, there's not much of a difference. Yes, in 2004, NASCAR saw an increase during the final 10 races from the previous years, but it didn't accomplish the ultimate goal, which was having more people tune into NASCAR's postseason than the regular season. There was still a drop off during the crucial part of the season. NASCAR is the only sport where nobody gives a shit about the postseason. Usually during the playoffs, that's when your sport is supposed to have the most attention that it's had all season. You're supposed to see a significant increase in ratings and attendance during the playoffs compared to the regular season. And with NASCAR, that has never happened. Even when NASCAR was in the mainstream, it didn't happen. And this is when NASCAR had everything going for them. They had actual superstars like Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, and Tony Stewart, who were known outside the NASCAR bubble. NASCAR video games being at their absolute best, and tons of big time sponsors in the sport. Everything we complain about today that NASCAR needs to improve on was present in the 2000s. If you couldn't get people interested in the playoffs at NASCAR's peak, then you know damn well it ain't happening now. Even NASCAR's most popular drivers can't even get people interested in the playoffs. Chase Elliott made the championship four in 2020 and proceeded to win the championship. Just him making the final four will make you assume that it's about to be much more eyeballs on the season finale because the most popular guy has a shot at the championship. But Chase Elliott didn't move the needle at all. Ratings for the finale were down from the previous year. He proceeded to make the final four the next few years and nothing changed when it came to people interested in the championship. The fact that Steve Phelps had to start off the most recent State of the Sport address of him defending the playoffs, saying that it's not gimmicky and it rewards the best drivers in the sport is absolutely wild. And you can tell they hear the criticism towards the playoffs, but they refuse to change it. Is it really NASCAR that doesn't want to get rid of the playoffs, or is it the TV partners? Because I'm sure they play a role in this as well. Maybe NASCAR wants to change the championship format, but the TV partners just don't want them to because they like the playoffs, and I'm sure NASCAR doesn't want to ruin that relationship with Fox and NBC. But it's like, come on, how can they look at this and say they like it when it doesn't bring in big time ratings? It doesn't make any sense. This system rewards the best drivers? Yeah, that's a lie. From 2014 to 2023, it's only been 3 times where the best driver won the championship. Not the best driver in the playoffs, not the best driver in the round of 8. I'm talking about the best driver throughout a full season. I'm looking at a driver's body of work throughout the 36 races. And no, I'm not looking at who had the most wins. 2 key statistics I'm looking at is average finish and points earned. Those statistics truly represent how well a driver did throughout a season. Your body of work should matter, and it's a slap in the face to the team that was truly the best all season just to lose the championship because they didn't have that one key race go the way they needed it to. I like Ryan Blaney, but he's the worst champion we've seen in a long time. Look at this graphic. He's not listed anywhere on here. Meanwhile, William Byron is represented all on here and he walks away with no championship. Before his fall Talladega win, Ryan Blaney went 15 straight races with no finishes better than 9th. And I'm supposed to sit here and act like he was the best driver all year? Sorry to break it to you, but I don't like seeing mediocrity be rewarded. It just tells you that no matter how impressive your overall season was, it doesn't mean shit. The best example of this is Kevin Harvick 2020 season. No, Harvick didn't choke. Second at Kansas, a good result. At Texas, NASCAR didn't call a caution for rain and he wrecks out of the lead because of that. Martinsville, he wasn't having the best race, but he failed to advance because someone below the cut line won, which bumped him out of the final 4. Which, by the way, winning your end sucks. There's no way you can sit here and say to me with a straight face that every race matters, because it doesn't. I know this will never happen, but you can win 35 races and lose that last race where the ultimate prize is on the line. Fuck your 35 wins. You have to win this one particular race to be champion. But it's going to be people that say, well, they failed to be good when it mattered the most. And that's what I want to address next. There's so much that can happen in a race that's out of a driver's control, from getting caught up in someone else's mess to having a mechanical failure. Or simply, they just missed the setup that weekend. So because of that one weekend where they couldn't nail the setup, it just affects their entire season just like that, no matter how dominant they were throughout the season? That's dumb. Just look at Corey Haim, who was so consistent all season and honestly should have had the title locked up coming into the finale. He was actually the best truck in the finale but gets dumped by someone and proceeded to lose the championship in the most shitty way possible. So even if you have the best driver all year make it to the final 4, they could have one of those things happen, which is why it's so stupid to have your whole season ride on one race. There's no way a driver actually likes this system, especially drivers that's been screwed by it in the past. Every year there's a conversation about the championship format, and it's not just fans debating about it, but even people in the industry. Yes, there's no such thing as a perfect point system. The Chase for the Cup format from 2004 to 2013 was criticized. The Laffer system as well. The format before that. But it's gotten to a point to where everyone is criticizing the championship format because of how stupid it's become. The ultimate prize is the championship, and when you got drivers that look at it as just a bonus and they care more about winning a lot of races than collecting championships, then that's a huge problem. I think everyone's goal at this point is just to make the final 4, and if you can do that, that's considered a huge accomplishment because at that point, the championship is up in the air. That's why I think dynasties in NASCAR is going to be no more because of the championship being a toss-up. Then you look at the schedule for 2024 and it's more wildcard races in the playoffs, which makes it even more of a toss-up. 2 super speedway style races and 2 road courses which can turn into shit shows. This format doesn't reward the best driver, so I don't know what the hell Steve Phelps was on when he said that. And what drives me even more crazy is that you got some people that are actually trying to justify this system. What are they saying? The classic stick and ball sports comparison. Well, the 2007 Patriots.
Shut up! I can't stand it anymore!
I don't know how many times it has to be said, but you can't fucking compare stick and ball sports to auto racing. In a sport like football, for example, they play on the same field. In NASCAR, they're racing at different tracks, which affects things a lot. In football, you don't go against every team. In NASCAR, you do. In other sports, teams live and die off wins and losses. A loss in NASCAR isn't detrimental. If you can't win, you're hoping for the best finish possible and hopefully have a good points day. Because in racing, it's a points race all season. I can't stand when people bring up the stick and ball sports comparisons, and I'm at the point to where I'm done debating with them about this shit. I just don't understand why the playoffs are still around, not only because of everything I brought up, but the guy that came up with the playoffs is no longer part of the sport. Why are we still using something that he came up with? It's not like it's been a success. It's just a damn shame that we have to go on Racing Reference every year just to see who was actually the best driver all year. And when you go back to check to see who's actually the best over the years, since they implemented the playoffs, it just pisses you off. We've been robbed of great storylines like Jeff Gordon being a 7-time champion, which, to be honest, would have been a bigger deal than Jimmy Johnson getting 7 championships because of Gordon's rivalry with Dale Earnhardt Sr. Kevin Harvick will have 4 championships, and someone like Carl Edwards will be a Cup Series champion. Trust me, I'm not hating the player. The guys that won championships under the playoffs did what they had to do given the format, but it's still bullshit. Let's erase a point lead you worked so hard to build up throughout the season for entertainment purposes. What does it mean to have the best average finish and most points earned throughout the season? Jeff Gordon's 2007 season instantly comes to mind. Gordon had 30 top 10s and a 7.3 average finish, which was the best among all drivers that year. The next best was Jimmy Johnson with 24 top 10s and a 10.8 average finish. How does Gordon not come away with the championship that year? Because NASCAR has a system in place that lets other guys back into the championship hunt, and even though Gordon still performed at a high caliber, during the last 10 races, he still loses the title because he didn't outscore someone in points during the last part of the season. I know, don't hate the player, hate the game, and trust me, I hate the game. I despise the game, not the rap artist. Yes, I know they're not going to get rid of this shit. I don't need anyone telling me that. I really wish they could, but they just assume that it'll run people away from the sport if they got rid of the playoffs. Funny enough, NASCAR's already done that. They keep trying to chase the casual crowd, but them doing that over the years is what got them in trouble to begin with. NASCAR became mainstream by being itself, not trying to become something it's not. Look at Formula 1. They have gone through a boom period recently and they don't have playoffs. Am I saying the playoffs is the lone reason why NASCAR has declined in viewership over the years? No. Am I saying a full season points format will bring in big time ratings? No. But why not try it at this point? And don't try it for a year, but give it at least 3 years and who knows what might happen. The one change that will be made, of course, is awarding more points to the winners so wins can matter more. Something that should have been done in the first place. People that grew up during the playoff era might come to appreciate a full season points format. What's there to lose at this point? Ratings are already down. But if they really are that hell bent on having the playoffs, then you got 2 options. The first is going back to the first edition of the playoffs, the chase for the cup. As a matter of fact, if we're going to have a postseason in NASCAR, can they just go back to calling it that instead of the playoffs? Anyway, go back to that format. 10 drivers, no winning or end, no eliminations, no final 4. Honestly, this is by far the best version of the playoffs. The only tweak I'll make to it is the inclusion of playoff points when the postseason starts. Like I stated earlier, this format was a good balance of legitimacy and entertainment. It was no need to get away from this format. The second option is making some adjustments to the current format. If it was up to me, I'll get rid of winning or end, cut the playoff field down to 12 drivers, and have the playoff points carry over to the final race. That way, instead of it coming down to the highest finisher of the race wins the championship, it'll come down to a points deal to decide the championship like how it used to. One of these options will be a better way of determining a champion instead of what we got now. But full season points beats all of those, and I will die on this hill. If the playoffs was this successful thing, wouldn't you think other motorsports would have followed? They never did, which is really telling. So the fuck what if somebody locks the title up early? All that should tell you is how dominant of a season that driver had. People need to realize that everything isn't always going to come down to the wire. Teams get swept in the playoffs. We've seen blowouts in the Super Bowl. It happens. I want the championship to mean something in NASCAR again. I don't want it to be looked at as just a bonus. And what other sport does this happen where the championship isn't taken seriously? Especially in auto racing. When a champion is crowned, it shouldn't be questioned by anybody. I don't know when NASCAR and the TV partners will understand that the playoffs hasn't been a successful thing for the sport. If us, the fans, can see that, then you would think NASCAR and the TV partners can see it as well, since they have all the data in the world in front of them. The fact that there's videos being uploaded every year talking about how bad the playoffs are in NASCAR should really tell you something. Who's out there actually praising the playoffs? I don't feel the need to apologize for being vocal about something in NASCAR that should matter. The championship. The ultimate prize shouldn't be overlooked, but unfortunately I guess this is how it's going to continue to be. The playoffs has failed in so many ways, and what is NASCAR gaining by having it? Absolutely nothing. So what are y'all thoughts? Do you think the playoffs has been a failure in NASCAR? Do you like the playoffs? Which format do you like the best? If NASCAR was to go back to a full season points format, what adjustments will you make to it? Fill that comment section up and I'll be checking them out. I'm gonna go ahead and roll up out of here. Y'all have a good one. Peace.